Hey everybody, I'm Jackie. Welcome to my channel, Motherwize with a Z. And this is our new series called Mama's Cooking School. Today I'm going to make quick and easy biscuits and gravy. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the ingredients list. I have a cup of milk. It's supposed to be buttermilk, but we're going to fix that. And also a cup and a half of flour and a quarter of a cup of butter. So the first thing, since I don't have buttermilk, is I'm going to take this regular milk, 1 cup, and this is a liquid measuring cup, and that's what you want to use for any liquids that you use, is a glass cup like this. And you want to sit it down on the counter and measure right at one cup. So I also have a tablespoon of lemon juice, and this is how we're going to make buttermilk. So I'm just going to pour the lemon juice down into the milk, and I'm going to stir that up. And then that needs to sit for about 5 minutes while it makes buttermilk. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the oven on. And we're going to bake at 350 for 25 minutes. But we're just going to turn that on so it can heat up, so that when we put our biscuits in, that they'll be good to go. Also, I'm going to start melting my butter. So the oil that you use, some people use cold butter in flour and mash it up with a pastry blender and make small crumbs. Well, I don't have that much time. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt the butter in the pan that we're going to bake in. So I'm going to bake these biscuits in a cast iron pan, and I'm going to go ahead and melt the butter in that. So, and I put a little bit more butter than the quarter cup to grease the pan. So we're melting the butter, and then the next thing we're going to do is the flour. So I have a mixing bowl and my flour. So I've got this 3/4 cup dry measure cup, and I'm going to measure my flour. Now I need a cup and a half, so I'm going to use 2 of these because I don't want to have to wash 2 things. When you're measuring, you don't want to put this in your bowl. That's too much. So what you want to do is take that and use a knife with a flat back, and you want to scrape the excess back into your container so that it's flat on top, and make sure you don't have extra hanging around on the edge. Okay, so put that in our bowl. I'm going to start with that. I need 2. And I hear my butter, so I'm going to go and turn that down. And so that's, we don't want it to get too warm. Okay, so we're going to do another 3/4 cup, and I'm just going to scrape it off. And make sure if you've got a hole back here at the back that you scrape it backwards to fill in that little hole. Make sure if you got a hole back here at the back that you scrape it backwards to fill in that little hole. And knock the extra off. And then knock the extra off, and then put that in your bowl. So I'm going to use a spoon. I'm going to pour this butter in. And we still have some butter left in the pan. We're going to stir this up, and now it's time for the buttermilk. So we've made buttermilk, homemade buttermilk. You can talk about that to your friends and brag on your homemade buttermilk. So we're going to work quickly and get everything all stirred up. Make sure you're scraping down the sides and getting up everything off the bottom. And we're just going to work around. Getting everything up and then getting it all the same consistency. So you don't want a pile of liquid around on the edges, which is what happens. And sort of mash down some of those lumps. You can see the lumps in there. There we have a little pocket of butter. So we want it all to be the same. Okay, there's still some lumps in there, but that'll be alright. I'm just going to scrape this off, because I'm frugal that way. I'm going to get all this off. Alright, so now I'm going to bring my pan back over here. And I'm going to fill it up. Now these biscuits, the last time I made these biscuits, I made them in a larger pan, so they weren't very thick. So I want some thick biscuits this time. So I'm going to scrape down this bowl and get as much out as I can. And I'm going to scrape it back up on the side to get that off. And then I'm going to mash it around so it's sort of even. And then for the last part, I'll get it off with my finger. Make sure your hands are clean when you cook. You don't want dirt in your food. Okay, and then we're going to put this in the oven for 25 minutes and check it. Make sure, just keep an eye on it so that it's not getting too brown. Now every oven is different, and some ovens cook hotter than others. So you'll want to keep check on it. Start about 20 minutes and start looking at it just to make sure that it's not getting too brown. Okay, so now we're going to get started with our gravy, and I'm going to turn the burner on to about 7. And what I have is some leftover sausage grease that I'm going to use in my pan. And you want to use the same amount of grease or fat that you do flour. So that's about 2 tablespoons full, and I might as well just use all the rest of this so we don't have to throw that away. Because it doesn't matter in cooking like it does in baking. When you're baking, you want to measure everything to be very precise, but in regular cooking, it doesn't have to be so precise. You can mix and match. That's why we can use sausage fat, we can use bacon fat, we can use butter if you don't have anything else. You can even use like oil if you have to. This is cooking with what you have. So I'm going to melt this first. Okay, so now our grease has melted, and you see all those little bits of sausage in there? That's extra flavor. So that's good. So we had about 2 tablespoons of oil. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of flour, because you want the same amount. And then we're going to mix it up, and it'll get dry. We may need a tad bit more. Okay. Now, when it starts turning a little bit brown, we're going to know that it's done, and we need to add our milk. Now, I've poured 2 cups of milk into my glass measuring cup for liquids. Okay, that's nice and brown. So we're going to pour this in, and we're just going to do a little bit at a time. to let it thicken up. And I want to tell you that the pan I've used has tall sides, so I can mix this gravy without sloshing it out everywhere. As you see that get thick, so put a little more milk in, and then that'll get thick. And as you learn how to make gravy, you will feel the resistance as you stir, and you'll feel it starting to get thicker. But you want to keep, I like to cook it on pretty high so that it cooks quickly. You don't want to be here all day, but you don't want to burn it either. So like I said, I have it on 7. I'm going to let this part thicken up a little bit, and we're going to add some salt and pepper. I like to use pink Himalayan salt because it's got lots of minerals and extra nutrients in it that processed white salt, iodized salt, doesn't have. But now the iodized salt does have iodine, which your body needs. Also, I like cracked pepper. It has a better flavor. Now, if you're going to put in a teaspoon of pepper, you're probably going to want already ground pepper. But if it's just a little bit, then this is really good. But use what you have, what you like. Cooking it's up to you. And so you just fix it to suit yourself. If you don't like sausage, then use bacon grease. And if you don't eat meat, then maybe you'll want to use butter or oil. But everybody can make gravy. It's not that hard. Also, I want to tell you that instead of using the milk for a milk gravy, you can make gravy with liquids from, say you've made a chicken and you've got drippings from that. You might want to use the broth from your chicken, or the drippings from it, not the grease, but the drippings, to make a gravy. Or Thanksgiving, to make, you can boil your giblets and use the liquid from that to make your gravy. And I want to show you how to know that your gravy's good. So see that it coated the spoon. So I'm going to blow it off a little bit because I don't want to burn myself. Now, if you wipe your finger down the back of the spoon and it don't run, then your gravy's done. So it tastes pretty good, and I think it's well seasoned. So I'm going to take it off, because if I leave it on too long, it's going to get too thick. So here's our bread, all nice and toasty, brown on the top, straight out of the oven. It's time to get ready for our gravy. Okay, so our biscuits and gravy are done. I'll show you how nice and tall our biscuits are, how fluffy. And I've already put the gravy on it, and so now I'm going to give it a taste. Need some more gravy. That's really good. I really hope you'll try this recipe. It's really good. It's really easy. Those biscuits, who wants to spend 30 minutes kneading dough and cutting things out? I don't have that kind of time. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.